So thank you guys all for joining us here in Boston. Just FYI, we're doing a Facebook Live feed, which is what's going on now. That's why I just got notified, hey, we're live. We've got quite a lot to share with you tonight. I'm going to give you a little talk about Taurus and the demo, and then we're going to watch Jenkins pipeline, and then we've actually got a real live user to share some stories with their continuous integration journey. And at the very end, we're going to give away bear growlers. So we have a limited number of these, but we have a handy dandy little thread group that'll randomly choose numbers off the list you signed in for. So use the tools. And then if you didn't already get a shutter for your webcam on your laptop, be sure to get one from us. You can take an extra one for a friend or someone back at work. So without further ado, let's get started. So my name is Dave Karow, advocate. Another word for technical evangelist. And I have another version of the slide that says, what a long, strange trip it's been. I used to work for a company called Keynote Systems, which is an outside-in monitoring company that had a load testing practice where we would test giant e-commerce sites. So typically we do performance testing at the very end of a project when somebody's already very paranoid that they're about to fail and want help very quickly to test their entire infrastructure. I did that for 7 years at Keynote, and then Keynote became Vantatrace as part of an acquisition. I moved over to SOSTA. SOSTA is a company which was recently bought by Akamai. SOSTA's main claim to fame now is their analytics for keeping track of how users behave and how they're treated in terms of response time and errors on websites. They were originally a company that specialized in running giant load tests using the cloud. Right? So kind of a trend here. Then I moved from SOSTA to BlazeMeter. BlazeMeter, so show of hands before tonight, how many people have heard of BlazeMeter? Okay, about a third or even a quarter of you, okay. How many of you have heard of JMeter? Okay, cool. So BlazeMeter was created to be a JMeter in the cloud option because JMeter doesn't really scale beyond a certain size very conveniently. It's really hard to actually build a large cluster that hits a website and bring back the data in real time. So BlazeMeter was basically a solution to orchestrate a large number of JMeters and aggregate the results back in real time and put up nice, pretty graphs. BlazeMeter was then acquired by CA Technologies' Continuous Delivery Division. CA Technologies is a company that been around for a long time. For many years, CA Technologies was a company that would buy older software companies and then sort of just kind of ride them out. They changed their strategy quite a few years ago and started organically building software and buying smaller, faster-growing startups like BlazeMeter. So watch this space. CA Technologies actually has the market leaders in test data management, service virtualization, and obviously open source cloud-based performance testing. So that's a little bit about my background. Here's what we're going to do today. I'll talk a little bit about why we're here. Why do we do this stuff? 4 fundamentals about Taurus. So before tonight, how many people have heard of Taurus? Show of hands. The heavy user here. Good. All right. So for the record, that's nobody. Just fine. How many people here have tried to add automated testing to a continuous delivery pipeline, continuous integration pipeline? Okay, quite a few show of hands. How many people have actually run JMeter using some kind of automation, batch files? Jenkins, anything. Okay, so a few in the back, awesome. All right, so those of you who have tackled that problem will probably have an appreciation for Taurus. So we'll talk about the 4 fundamentals of Taurus. We'll go a little deeper, do the demos. We've got the swag giveaway of the beer growlers, and then we've got some surveys. If you wouldn't mind just filling out a quick survey at the end, would be awesome. So just a quick thing on why we were here. So remember, I've spent a lot of time in the performance testing space. Performance testing in general has been kind of used to be done after development was thought to be done. You finish the development and then you hand it over to QA, and then what happens, right? Then there's this quiet for a little bit while QA figures out what you gave them, and then they start going through the code and they start sending you bug reports, and you build up a backlog. And then what do? You burn down the backlog. And the development manager somewhere is praying that you're still on schedule for the project because they're watching these burn down charts and trying to figure out whether we're going to get to the finish line. Meanwhile, the code's going back and forth, and it seems like a never-ending process, right? That's QA in general. Performance testing was at the end of testing. right? And so people would get to performance testing when they thought they were really, really done, and then they'd find a performance problem that led to major issues that they had to go back into the code. By now, they know they're missing their deadline, and it's not very pretty, right? So a lot of hair on fire. BlazeMeter used to have a mascot, actually, it was this blonde hair going like this, with sort of hair on fire. And so what we're trying to do is create tools and processes that make it easier to shift testing to the left or do testing earlier in the process, so that there's less of that calling home and saying, I'm not coming home for dinner and I won't be home this weekend and all that kind of stuff that happens in every project, pretty much, to make it more sustainable. So and this happens by moving a testing out from the middle, from like a dedicated group, out to where the development is being done, right? It's often known as shift left, or agile testing. So 4 fundamentals of Taurus. There's an old tale about a blind man and an elephant, which is that the blind man who reaches out and grabs the trunk thinks the elephant is like a hose, and the blind man that reaches out and grabs the leg thinks it's like a tree, and the blind man that reaches out and grabs the tail thinks it's like a rope. Right? So Taurus is actually different things depending on kind of where you're grokking at it from. So I'm just going to kind of save you some time understanding what is this thing by explaining it a little bit. So first of all, it's an open source project, right? So so if we go to gettaurus.org, you'll find you can download it from here. You can get it, install. The Taurus is an open source project, and there's all sorts of goodies here. You know, user manual. The support forms are actually done as a Google group, but you know, it's an open source project, and that's a huge part of kind of what it does in the world. Second of all, it's both a test runner and a domain-specific language to native test compiler. So let's pick that apart real quick. A test runner. So if you've run JMeter from a command line, a batch file, JMeter is really informative. If you launch JMeter and ask it to run a test, it'll let you know whether A, it ran a test, or B, it couldn't run a test. Now, when you're running a test, is there anything else you generally want to know about your test? Like, did it succeed or fail? Or did the thresholds get violated? Or were your service level agreements agreed, right? So by default, JMeter doesn't actually help you with the command line. Yes, you can read the reports and parse them later and figure it out, but Taurus was built to actually give you the ability to control open source tools like JMeter, Gatling, the grinder, et cetera, and have it literally stands for test automation running smoothly. So the idea behind Taurus is that you can very easily harness these tools and make them play nicer in CI pipelines or any kind of automation, right? So that's a test runner. It can run existing tests and do clever things like override the number of concurrent users, override any of the sort of main criteria. It has pre-test and post-test actions, mid-test actions. So if you want to orchestrate something you do over and over again, like do a lot of testing, it's very friendly for that. The second part of that, DSL the native test compiler. So what this means is that you might not be a JMeter expert or a Selenium expert or a Gatling expert, but you want to use these tools. How cool would it be if you could actually write a few lines of YAML in a text file to tell Taurus to do the rest of the work? So BZT, Taurus's command line, BZT file name. It'll parse the file, create the JMeter JMX, for instance, launch JMeter, show you what's happening in real time, and then shut down when it's done and post the results in a easily archived stash. So that's the DSL, the native test compiler. Now, number 3 here, I say can run locally with n=1 or can run via BlazeMeter. I've drawn a line there. That line is pretty much the line between open source and free and commercial, right? So running Taurus locally on a Jenkins instance, on your desktop, wherever, is absolutely free. It only does that one instance at a time. So it can only run one, no parallel runs of tests, right? When you run it using BlazeMeter, you can actually run an infinite number of tests at the same time, right? So whether that be in the cloud or whether that be in your own private cloud with Docker containers that are running it for you. But with the BlazeMeter commercial option, you can actually do parallel testing if you're kind of getting to the point where you're running into issues with wanting to run more tests faster. And then the last bit here feeds BlazeMeter reporting and collaboration. So this is below the dotted line, but actually, currently, if you're running Taurus on your own machine and you want reporting to be done on the cloud, we don't charge for that. So you just have to get a free BlazeMeter account, and you can actually get the reporting you'll see today by doing that. But if you're going to do collaboration with large users and you want to have record keeping and all that stuff, you probably want a commercial account. So I put that below. So that's the 4 fundamentals of Taurus. So going a little deeper, if you go to gettaurus.org and you click on the Google Groups, the support forum, and you search for Learning Taurus, my favorite Learning Taurus URLs is what I posted here. There's like kind of a handy-dandy cheat sheet to let you learn even faster what you want to know to be able to come up to speed quickly on Taurus. You can also jot down this URL. Those of you who are watching the video can pause it and check it out. So let's talk about the demos we're going to do. So the first thing is that one of the uses for Taurus is to be able to get instant feedback while you're building code. So if you're an Agile tester or a developer and you actually want to get feedback right as you're building something, then that is one of the use cases here. So here we have some YAML. This is just a really simple hello world example. I type execution, new line, space, scenario, hello world, concurrency 10, ramp up 30 seconds, hold for 1 minute. Scenarios for scenario, hello world. It consists of requests. Hit this URL and then hit that URL. So does everybody understand what's happening here? But if I asked you how many users does this test hit, anybody want to tell me how many users this test, how many concurrent users? Right, yeah, right. And how long does the test run? It's either a minute or a minute 30, depending on how this works, but yeah, right. So the 30-second ramp up means that it'll get to that 10 over a course of 30 seconds. It does the math, and then it'll run for another minute, right? So pretty self-evident. You don't have to be a JMeter expert to parse this file and understand what it's doing, right? If somebody puts this in source control and makes a change, you can probably figure out what the change is, right? If you try to put a JMeter XML file in source control, you'll get a huge block of gibberish when you make one little change, and you're not really sure what happened. Right? So let's look at a more realistic example. All right, so in this case, and I apologize, there's actually colors here. So all of these labels are yellow in my editor, but this monitor is not the best, right? So in this case, I'm running a scenario called BlazeMeter test. I've got a concurrency of 5. I'm ramping up for 1 minute. I'm holding for 5. And then I've actually got a reporting section that defines some pass-fail criteria. So what's cool about this is instead of having to sort of configure this in Jenkins or figure this out after the fact by parsing log files, et cetera, I can literally say, hey, if the average response time of the reservation step in my flow is more than 1,500 milliseconds for 10 seconds, I want you to stop the test as failed. You could say continuous failed, and the reason you would continuous failed is that you want the test to complete, but you want to make sure that the build is worked bad. But if you want to stop as failed, that's because you want to end the test right away and post the feedback. Hey, you're not there yet, try again, right? So the second one is failure rate of confirmation, greater than 50% for 10 seconds, stop it as failed, right? So
you want it to keep running so that if it went back down, if the performance came back into line, that would be...
Yeah, you might want it to keep running to see if indeed it did have a problem that came back. You also might want to keep running because you've got multiple scenarios you want to test and you want to get feedback for all of them. Right. So you may not want to stop the test before you have at least a pretty good snapshot of what happened, right? So if it were an hour-long test, stop as failed would make a lot more sense. If it's a 5-minute test, continuous failed, makes all the sense in the world. What's 5 minutes, right? So there's the scenario. It's defined here. And right underneath the definition of the scenario, I've got a default address. That's basically my base URL. And I've got some headers. These are going to affect every request below it, right? It's a scoping thing, right? And then I have the requests. This URL just goes to /, so it's going to go to this www.blaze.com/, right? And it's going to, it's going to add something called a label called home, so it gives a friendly name to this request, so you know it's not just /, you know what you were testing. And there's an assertion here. Literally, it's going to check to make sure that there's this text, simple travel agency, in the body of the page that comes back. And that has to be true, or you're going to get an error from basically I got to the wrong page. A lot of apps print errors, like 200 page, and it's status 200 page that says something's wrong here. At which point you may not detect an error because you got a 200 instead of something else, right? And then there's more of this. There's actual URLs here that are doing posts, with a post body, from and up to destination for a travel thing, and another assertion, right? So this is more of a real world example. It's moderately complex, but even here, don't have to be a JMeter expert to understand what this is doing. Right? And I can take this, and I just, whoop. The idea is that right in my IDE, question, go ahead. Great question. You asked if it would work with JSON as well. The entire syntax is identical in JSON, so all the same words, the punctuation is different, the spacing, whatever. So But the exact same syntax, if you're talking about the, label, method, URL, requests, the nesting, all that stuff, it's exactly the same. In fact, if you go to the Get Taurus site, each one of the examples has a little toggle where it's showing YAML by default. If you click the little toggle, it'll show it as JSON. Right? So that's a great question. And generally, we find that people that want to generate this programmatically, they want to use JSON. People that are going to type it by hand, copy and paste, that kind of thing, they want to use YAML. But some people are so familiar with JSON that they're writing that. Right? So
there are third-party tools to generate this YAML file.
You asked if there are third-party tools to generate the YAML file. So numerous editors will understand the file. We don't have like auto-completion for our exact syntax in anybody's tool yet.
It's kind of tedious to type out all the requests, HTTP requests.
Oh yeah, so question. It would be tedious to have to type out a lot of requests. You can actually use a recorder that'll generate this if that's what you're asking. So you can actually generate the vast majority of this by merely using one of our recording tools. There's several options. Output it as YAML, and then make edits as you'd like, so that you're not actually having to type all these URLs. Like you've got a flow of 15 steps, and you've got headers and stuff. You wouldn't have to do any of that. You could actually start with a recording and then edit. Right? All right. So here I am. I am in the same folder as this file, and I'm just going to type bzt space and BlazeMeter test scenario.yaml, right? And let me make this window a little bigger. Run it. And this is kind of crushed here because I'm doing giant fonts for your screen. In fact, I'll take it out of this mode and see if we can still kind of see it reasonably well. Here we go. All right, so what's happening here is there's three very simple graphs. This is ASCII graphics. Huh? Anybody was alive when this was what you saw and worked on PCs, right? What's happening is that there's the number of users here. There's the hits that would be success in green, failures in red. There's the response time broken up in latency and connect time here. And then I've got some statistics on response time. I've got statistics for each of the, there's labels in this test, home, confirmation, reservation, purchase, and I'm seeing how many hits I have, how many failure percentages I have, and what the average response time is. Over here, I've actually got CPU and memory for my system that's running the test, not the test system I'm hitting necessarily, but the actual test harness to make sure that I'm not, if I'm pegging the machine that's running this test, data is useless, right? So I'm able to see the CPU and memory and all that fun stuff over here. Again, more stats on response time, right? And because we want to make it simple, in order to stop this, anybody want to guess how I stop this tool? Control-C, thank you very much. Right you are, okay? So make it simple, right? Don't go through a 6-month training plan to become a practitioner, right? We're trying to make it so that you've got more important stuff to do than become a, double judo certified specialist on one part of the process, right? So that's pretty much, I think, what I wanted to show here. Yeah, and so last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run that same test, but I'm going to do dash report. And what that's going to do is run that test locally, but it's actually going to generate a report on BlazeMeter's commercial solution. This is through a free account. So I'm running the test wherever it's running. I'm not running into the cloud right here, but I'm actually getting reporting through the cloud. And it's going to take a second for the data to get there, and because I'm not the best connection, it may take a little longer, but basically, let's give it a second, see if it does not go to, I'll do a cooking show demo and go to one that I ran previously. Yeah, we'll come back in a sec. Let's go to one I've already run. Right? Now, so we get these nice pretty graphs that show us what's happening. This graph right here is showing me the increase in users versus the error rate and response time. This one's, sorry, error rate and hits per second. This one is showing response time. And this is doing what it should do. Response time is going sideways as my users go up. That's a good thing. Your hit rate should go up as users go up. Showing what it should. It's a good thing. And then again, here I can actually see, for instance, engine health. Even though I ran this locally, got an error. I'm not sure why. There you go. Probably the network connection. The local JavaScript said, I can't get the data. So here I'm able to see CPU and memory and stuff on my test machine, my Jenkins box or my local desktop, even though I'm up in the cloud, right? And I've got this record
that I can actually compare test over test by just dragging another one out there, and I can compare one test to another, right? So this is all meant to be sort of pretty crazy, simple, easy. The idea being that if you had, where'd my beer go? It's terrible. If you had a couple too many beers, you could still basically figure out how to use it, right? Our design goal is that it should be really self-evident and straightforward. So if we need to have a couple more beers before you guys try it for yourself, it's all good. All right, so that is what I wanted to show there. So let's pause just briefly for Q&A on what you've already seen, and then I want to go into the pass the baton over to the CloudBees guys to show you the stuff happening in Python. Any more questions at this point?
I'm sorry, I came to you this, like, is this all open source?
Great. The question was, is it all open source? And yes, you came in a little late, and that's fine. What I showed earlier was that Taurus itself is open source. It does have both its test runner capabilities and this ability to convert domains specifically to native tests like JMeter or Gatling. Running locally is open source and free. When you get into the proprietary stuff here is where you get to leveraging our platform to run parallel testing. So if you have like 10 teams that are all committing at the same time, you want those tests to just happen and not queue, right? Commercial solution, right? And then the IP related to that is actually not in the open source portion,
Sure.
right? But yeah, it's primarily, first and foremost, an open source buy. And the guy that runs this is very hardcore open source. More questions? You're back?
Do you use the website to get the results?
No. So the question was, do you have to use the website to get the results? There's actually multiple reporting formats. If you go to gettaurus.org, go to reporting, you can get it out as JUnit. You can get the JTLs, the typical JMeter log files. It has its own summary format. You saw the splash at the end of the test run. Why don't we show you that? So at the end of the test run, I don't know why it's not letting me bring up my IDE. It's there. It's just sort of hidden in the back. Whoops. So there we go. So at the end of the test run, I'm not going to answer that. At the end of the test run, there's a splash of key statistics, right? But there's literally like 4 or 5 different ways to get the data out, and you don't need the commercial solution to further process that and do whatever you want with it, right? We have some customers, by the way, who take our raw data and have their own dashboarding, right?
Is the data available through reports, or is there a database that can be accessed? Or
so the question is, your database can access as it reports. So the raw data is basically flat files. There's in a database you can run queries from. This entire, in the case of me doing dash report, by the way, my entire test, all the artifacts from my test got uploaded to the cloud. So anybody else in my project has access to that stuff right away. They don't have to get access to my machine. So that's another one of the byproducts of actually using that. Now, obviously, if I'd run in the cloud, that stuff would all be there as well. But even in the sort of free side of things, we push that stuff up to the cloud. And you could use a post-test action. For instance, if you want to physically push it somewhere or put it into a database, you just have a post-test action that you would configure that would do that as a shell script, right? I don't want to take too much more time. Let's do this. We can do more Q&A at the end. Let's move over and let Andrew Bayer from CloudBees do his bit. I'm going to shift my display here. Where's my Zoom window? Here we are. And I am full screen, am I not? Okay, stop sharing. Go full screen. Okay. All right, Andrew, come on over.
Hi. So, my name is Andrew Bayer. I'm an engineer at CloudBees. I work on Jenkins and here to show specifically integration with BlazeMeter and data pipelines. So, first of all right, who's heard of Jenkins here? Not 100%. That's the thing. All right, so who's using Jenkins? All right, and who's using Jenkins pipelines? Good. And who's using Blue Ocean? All right, you should use Blue Ocean. You should use pipelines, and you should use Blue Ocean. It looks pretty good. Well, you'll see some of that. It's a thing. Anyway, so Jenkins obviously, I think, is the automation engine that you can do pretty much anything you need CI/CD space with. It's built from the ground up to be extensible and easy to use. May sometimes be a stretch, but we try.
One quick thing. Do you have audio on for Zoom on your system?
I do not. No.
Do turn it on, actually, because we'll get better audio from you that way.
All right. Hold on a sec.
For the after effect. Apologize to people on Facebook Live at the start of your Zoom. We'll definitely post a recording, better audio in the next couple of days. All right. Thanks, James.
No problem. Well, you should mute you.
Oh.
Otherwise, we get a wonderful distortion effect. All right. You might also actually want to mute the input on it.
Sorry.
You might want to mute the input so that it's not two different audio inputs going at the same time. Sorry. Presenting things is hard.
But a good catch.
All right. So yeah, Jenkins is extensible. It's as easy to use as we made it, and we're working on making it easier to use. Jenkins connects all the things. It integrates with pretty much any tool you can imagine. Source control systems, obviously. Issue trackers, test systems, you name it. And obviously, it's the best way I've ever found to automate tasks, and I hate doing things by hand. So yeah, when we pull all of this together, we've got Jenkins as the hub of continuous delivery. All of these various pieces and various tools come together, be used together, so that you can do your entire pipeline through one central spot. And CloudBees, while Jenkins, of course, is open source, and always will be, CloudBees are, a commercial company. We do kind of need to make money, and we have an enterprise offering that focuses on things like scalability, manageability, support, professional services, training, reporting, improved security, disaster recovery, that kind of thing. So take a look at our products and give us money, please. Otherwise, how am I supposed to keep working on the open source Jenkins stuff? So I mentioned pipelines earlier, and only a few people are using them. How many people have heard of Jenkins pipelines? All right, good. So I won't spend too long talking about why Jenkins pipelines, but the core concepts that I think are key for pipelines are that you've got configuration as code, that your build configuration is not just in the UI and you have to go edit it there. It's in a Jenkins file checked into your source control repo. There's more power as a result of that, and you can do more complicated scripting. You can do more in a single job in pipeline, like tasks that need to run on different agents than you can in a traditional freestyle job. There's durability when you're running a shell or batch step or a number of other steps and working to expand that. If the master gets disconnected from the agent while you're running, Maven clean install or some long test, then when the master reconnects the agent, the job is still running and it keeps going from there, so that you don't have to worry about, oh crap, I had to upgrade Jenkins, or somebody unplugged the master. Now I have to restart my 12-hour job, because that is not fun. And there's multi-branch, which can automatically look at your repository or even your whole organization, all the repositories within that organization in GitHub or Bitbucket, find every branch that has a Jenkins file on it, and automatically create a job for it, including automatically creating jobs for pull requests, which just drastically decreases the amount of busy work that you have to do to be testing all of your branches on a regular basis and getting that fast feedback that you really need. And then there's declarative pipeline, which is, not surprisingly, a declarative syntax for pipelines. So you don't have to be worrying about scripting. You don't need to know Groovy. You just fill in your declarative pipeline and you're good to go. And yeah, so you can't actually see this well. Don't worry about it. You can find the demo online. But this is a, can I expand this at all? No. We're defining where to run. We're defining our stages, what to run in each of those stages, and what to do at the end of the build, and that's it. There's nothing else we have to worry about there. We don't have to worry about saying, okay, I need to make sure my build environment's there or things like that. I mean, this is a very simple pipeline, so it doesn't have, this one actually would be pretty simple and non-declarative, but I have a special love for declarative. And there's also a visual editor for declarative as part of Blue Ocean, which I'll be showing you in a few minutes. So this is Blue Ocean's visualization of pipelines, where we can show the stages. We can show things that have been run in parallel. We can show the status of each of those stages, parallel branches. And you know, it's a UI that doesn't look like it comes from 2005. I still feel a little weird about having a UI that doesn't look like it came from 2005, but I think it's good. Yeah, no, it's good. And there's a pull quote about Blue Ocean. Woo. And yeah, there's stuff that I'll show you that doesn't screen up well there. Look, we can edit a pipeline. Again, I'll show you better examples. And stuff, yeah, we'll show that. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right, demo time. That's what's more interesting, right? So yeah, the demo is online. It's on GitHub. Shots fired, SCHOTTS fired, / BlazeMeter-demo. Has readme and all that good stuff. Now let's go over to the demo. So this is Blue Ocean. Doesn't look like what you're used to, does it? So what I did here before we got here is that I set up my pipeline. So I can show you what that looks like. I've got my code in GitHub. I've already entered credentials, so it knows to look to see what organizations or users I have access to. So if we, that's too many. If we go to a bear, I can either do the auto-discover Jenkins files, in which case it will look at every repository that I've got and look for Jenkins files on every branch. That's kind of going to overload my laptop. So let's go for looking at a single repository. Now it's querying GitHub. It's finding a list of all the repositories I've got that I haven't already created a pipeline for. As it turns out, strangely enough, BlazeMeter demo isn't here because I already created it. So now we'll go look at that pipeline. Get back here. Get back here, lag. All right, so here are all the builds that have run recently of one or the other of the branches in the BlazeMeter demo repository. I can see the list of branches over here, and then I can drill down to an individual branch, and I can see what ran in that pipeline. I can see that it ran an app container. You can see the logs for when it did that. I can go over to see the run Taurus perf tests and see the same thing. Ooh, look, logs. Strangely enough, everything worked because it's a very simple demo. But I also have a less simple demo that does not work because I put in the wrong port. Strangely enough, I seem to have known that when I named the branch. Oops, wrong port. But here we can see that if I look at the perf tests, that it did not work out very well. And so it's saying, okay, yeah, 100% errors. Let's mark the build as unstable, which is why this would be yellow if the colors were right, but there's an exclamation point there, so that's not good, right? Now I can, let me kick off another run just for giggles. It's going to work fine, but while that's going on, this here's the editor. I'm very proud of this. So here I've got the agent set that I want to run on. There's various configuration options for that. I can set environment variables. Then I can add stages to run in parallel. I'm not actually going to do that here. Go away. Go away. Delete. I can see what I'm running inside one of these stages. Not very much in this case, but you know. I can add additional steps to the stages if I wanted to. And then I can save all this, and it's round tripping to and from the Jenkins file in my branch on GitHub, because it's got my credentials in here so that it can save it, push it, and update it all on the fly. And it translates between the declarative pipeline syntax and the editor. We're pretty happy about this because it's giving us that more user friendliness of a visual editor while still giving all the advantages of pipeline. Yep.
So when it updates the Jenkins file, if you have a webhooking, your source control to trigger the build,
yep.
Is it going to happen when you do that?
Yeah, so when, with the multi-branch setup that I've got here, the pipeline is set up, it will automatically run a build whenever there's a commit on any of those branches. So when I've edited the Jenkins file and it's saved it behind the scenes, yes, it will automatically run a build of that branch right afterwards. And I can, let's see make sure that actually is working. Let's see here. I'll just add something dumb here. Then save. And yep, there's a build launching as we speak. So while that one's running, let's take a quick look at what exactly it's doing in terms of how we're running BlazeMeter and Taurus in the pipeline. It's nice and simple. So if we go back over here, go to run Taurus perf tests, run performance test, we're using a pipeline step that is written to run Taurus. All we have to do is specify the parameters that we want to use. In this case, just the path to the test YAML. But we can also choose some additional options if we need to. So in the pipeline itself, we'll drop out of Blue Ocean here. And we go back to the traditional Jenkins UI. We can go over to a build that ran, check replay, which will show us what we ran before and allow us to make changes to it on the fly and run the build again. So here we can see that to run BZT, we just have, just BZT is the step name, and all we had to do was supply the path to the config, and it will just run BZT. It will run the tests and report back up to BlazeMeter. We've got both an internal performance report within Jenkins itself that the performance plugin provides, and a link off to the external report on blazemeter.com. So that all just happens, which is great. It's nice to not have to actually work hard.
Click with this towards down on the top there.
Uh-huh.
One more up, right there. there's your trends.
Ooh, you can tell where I broke everything. I wonder what happened. Uh-oh, nothing. Oh, there's only 2.85% errors? That's not the one I broke. Where's the one I broke? Sorry.
Response time there.
Oh,
Scroll down
see?
for errors.
Ah.
We went from 100% errors to 0 errors. Nice trend you have there.
Yeah, it's really real world and, you know, normal. But yeah, so any questions? All right, thank you all very much.
By the way, quick show of hands. Who had heard of the performance plugin before tonight? Anybody? I'm guessing the guys in the back. Always you, the guy. Yeah. So performance plugin's been around for a long time and has thousands of followers. We've recently adopted it and are modernizing. Just made it pipeline friendly. We made it even more pipeline friendly after the pipeline contributor got a hold of it and
I made it
smelled the code and didn't like what he found. But but that's the nature of open source. It's been around for a while. It needed somebody to pay attention and do a pull request, and 2 days later we
once the next release comes out,
merging this pull request.
so
So thank you very much. Now, so as a special treat, we actually have going a little deeper here. Our third participant here, hopefully kind of directly. Right. Becky, can you do an intro for us real quick?
Sure.
My colleague Becky is local here. I'll let her do the local intro.
I am Becky from CA BlazeMeter. I invited you here tonight because he is actually a company called
Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Yes.
So they're doing CI/CD testing. They're actually using Taurus, running so it would be a good presentation for everybody.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Unmute my mic. You're good. I'm good. Okay. All right. Okay. Figure out how to share. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here. So thank you for the invite. I am from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and specifically our Intervention Solutions Group. So I don't want to spend too much time on who we are or what we do, but it is important. So intervention products are those that are designed for students who are behind where they should be. So we believe all students can succeed if you put them in the right classes and you give them the right tools and you empower the teachers in the right way. So this is our official mission statement, which is building on decades of groundbreaking research and close collaboration with educational thought leaders. Our mission is to help accelerate students with innovative blended learning solutions, research-based intervention curriculums, and world-class professional learning. So it's almost as much about the teachers as it is the students, but the classroom in general. And these are some of our products. We have a lot of products that are not listed here. Feel free to check us out if you want. But we have literacy and math products for the most of our suite, and then we get into some assessment-based products where schools might only use assessments and not actually have these programs in the curriculum. But that's it at a high level. We make software for kids who are behind where they should be, and we sell to districts, and we get built into curriculum, and we work with educators. So I like our product line. I like what we do. We're proud of it. So I'm going to jump right into some of our JMeter stack terminology. We're using Jenkins. We're using Taurus much more in the test harness aspect of it than writing full YAML files with configurations for what requests to send and that sort. And the reason for this is we have a lot of JMeter scripts. And we were looking for a solution that let us put this into Jenkins, run tests all the time, but not have to deal with managing JMeter, which is where Taurus comes in, and it fit a niche, and it was perfect for us. So we have a Jenkins master. We have load generators, and this should be pretty similar to most load setups. And then we have Jenkins slaves, which are the JMeter controllers. So it's a little bit of a duality there, that they're slaves, but really they're the controllers that are going to run the test. And on it is where we have Taurus. So these are our Taurus machines. We also have a few Redis servers in different places, and Redis is an in-memory key value data store. And you notice that I put key values. So you can actually have a list of values with one key, which is a little bit of a difference than most key value store, but a lot of them will allow this as well. And we have GitHub for source control, and then this concept of a load generator pool, which is something that the enterprise version of BlazeMeter, you wouldn't have to worry about something like that, because you're running everything up on the cloud. So here are some quick diagrams. We'll walk through the flow of our stack. And then what I really want to get into is just to show you the technical integration between your YAML config, which we've now seen through the previous demos, how to set that up, how to run it. But how do you actually put it into Jenkins in a different way than the pipeline? So here we have the initial state, where you have a master with a Redis server. Hopefully my cursor can be seen, yep. So we have a Redis server, which is a load generator pool. It's just holding all of the available JMeter machines. At which point, we start a job. Job gets scheduled out on a slave. We can have any number of these Taurus slaves. So this diagram is the flow for one, but know that this stack is horizontally scalable. We can have as many number of Taurus slaves as we want, and we can put as many load generators in the pool as we want. And the first step is to clone the repo. So I've got this little repo down here. Might be hard to read, but I have a test JMX, a test YAML, and then a data directory with 2 different CSV files. So our job will do a sparse checkout. This can exist in a repo alongside other tests, or you can embed your test in the project repo version alongside it, whatever works for your group. And then we get into the real happening of it, which is the first thing that our slave does is it goes to the Redis server on the master and checks out a few load generators. So I want some number of load generators. Then it reads the data directory that we have here checked out, and each CSV data file that we might want to use at runtime gets loaded into a Redis server on the Taurus machine itself. So anyone who's used JMeter in the past knows that if you're running a distributed test and you have a CSV file, and you want to actually use the CSV importer, you have to split up your CSV file, distribute it to all the machines, name it the same thing on every machine. Not very nice. So our solution here was, let's just throw Redis on the controller. And then every single load gen can grab its data from Redis real time, pushing it out of the list. And that way we can split one data file across multiple machines. We've scaled this up pretty high, and haven't hit any limitations on the Redis side of things, but they will be there. Which is another thing that once you go to Enterprise BlazeMeter, all of this washes away. It's a great service. So we run the Taurus test on the load gens, and one line that I didn't show here is that these load gens are grabbing their data out of this Redis data store that we just populated with all of our data. And real time, we shoot our results over to BlazeMeter. We get the awesome reporting capabilities. One thing that's not quite captured on the slide is how nicely the Jenkins concept of a view has multiple jobs, and each job has multiple executions in it, builds. That lines up perfectly with the BlazeMeter reporting structure. So you have a project, each project has multiple executions, and in it you can see all your builds. So the way that we've structured our Jenkins job lines up perfectly with the BlazeMeter reporting. And teams can come, they can find their project on BlazeMeter, they don't even necessarily have to know about all of this. They can just go get their results the way that they want. And the very last bit, we clean everything up. So we wipe out the test data, and we check the load gens back into the pool. And in theory, you have any number of these Taurus controllers grabbing machines out of the pool, to run a test, sticking them back in. We don't have enough, we add more. But a lot of this is what you get from going to BlazeMeter. I just wanted to walk through our solution and where we put Taurus into it, which really is the slave. And we're using a lot of the Taurus features, such as the pass-fail. That's huge, right? Because as it was pointed out earlier, you're running JMeter, runs JMeter. And then you have to go do some analysis to figure out, did it pass, did it fail, did it pass enough, did it fail enough, what does that mean? So we work directly with product teams. We'll show them the printout from the JMeter test as to what the key transactions are, and then go through to the product owner, and we build up that YAML pass-fail in a way that's human readable, almost like a cucumber definition to some extent for functional testing. And that's worked really well for us. So the product owners can see, oh, if the home page is over 150 milliseconds, end the test. And they understand that, it makes sense to them. And all of this JMeter stuff is behind the scenes, they don't have to worry about it. They just have to know how to interpret the BlazeMeter results. So this is the meat of it here. Which if you define a YAML file, you can actually override almost all of it from the command line. So what we're doing in Jenkins is we're basing everything off of the workspace, which is a typical Jenkins best practice. And then we're even telling Taurus where to put the outputs. So Taurus usually like to make this nice, long, epic timestamp folder. Instead, we're saying, no, name it after the build number for the Jenkins job. So it's very clear to us later, it was build 57, we got to go look at build 57 results. Our execution, ramp up, and hold for are also overridden by the Jenkins job. And I'll show you the real benefit of that in a minute here. But then we do some other stuff like pass in custom JMeter properties, specifically around the Redis host, which is telling the test man where you're going to go for your data. So this is really important because each test is pulling its data from the Taurus machine that's running it. So when the job gets scheduled, we have to tell the job, what node are you on? So that the test knows where to go get data from and run. So this way, any test can get scheduled on any of the slaves, populate its own data, run, check the slaves back in. And the reporting, we pull the job number and job name. And this is how we guarantee that on the BlazeMeter report side of things, it logically lines up exactly how we set up our Jenkins. The only thing that we can't parameterize is the view name. The job could be in many views. So we hard code that to our baseline right now. Intervention solutions group baseline. And then any team can come to BlazeMeter, look at that baselines bucket, find their own project by name, and see all the previous builds, know when they happened, what version of the software it was against, all sorts of really cool stuff. Now, this last bit here, this checkout file, is very much custom to us. So this is how we integrated the custom pool of machines with Taurus. We have some logic that goes ahead and says, I want a few machines. Redis says, okay, I got some machines for you. It checks them out. And we generate this checkout file in the right syntax so that when we just append it to Taurus, it finds our distributed hosts and it runs the test on it. And at the end of the test, we just stick those back into Redis. And in the meantime, it's a checkout file. If the test blows up and fails for whatever reason, that checkout file still exists. They're not put back in the pool, and we'll have to have someone go look at what happened there and just put them back in the pool, basically. Make sure JMeter server is running, whatever it happens to be. So these are some of our actual outputs from a job. You can see that this job was requesting 3 load generators into a workspace called Blaze Report, which was a job I had set up just to test all of this. At which point it sees that there are 9 in Redis, we want 3, it goes ahead and grabs them. You can see the 3 that it checked out. At which point this is the actual output from our big old config here. So all of this stuff gets parameterized, and you can see that the report name, the build numbers, all of it, including the distributed host, got appended into the BZT command, feeds in our YAML, overrides whatever we need to, and then it starts Taurus, at which point you would see all of the real-time results to console with how many users are running now, current error rate, that sort of thing, enough on the console that we can tell if something's gone amiss or not. And then at the very end, we check back in our hosts. And that leaves us at the start state. And Taurus very much let us set up the stack and design it the way that we do, build in the SLA metrics and lots of delicious things. In terms of CI and CD, we wanted a solution where jobs would run tests in a way that we could configure easily, look at easily, review the results easily, share things with teams, whatever it meant. But in terms of CI and CD, we now have jobs that we can trigger whenever we want through whatever means. So we have a pipeline that has a CI environment, a QA environment, a staging environment, and finally production. And as our builds roll through, we can either trigger tests all of our baselines through a multi-job trigger, or if we know that one component just updated, we'll trigger tests on one component, automatically make sure that the SLAs are good. If it passes, we know it met our standards. We'll still want to look for trends up and down, but if it meets our SLAs, it meets our SLAs, and that's pretty clear cut. The dynamic YAML, and this is what I wanted to show, we've now set up these jobs where a developer can come, hit build, and get these nice options. How many users, how many nodes do you want, ramp up, steady state, even a drop-down that's not shown for environment. So aim this at QA, dev, etc. And then they can run their own tests on demand without even needing to know Taurus or YAML or JMeter or any of that. We give them jobs, they push the button, they can get the results, they can look at the reports. It's all self-service. And then the pass-fail criteria of Taurus is huge for us. That's it in a nutshell. Any questions? Anything.
Much reduced question. So
If Taurus works.
can he use, does he have to Jenkins to use any other tool?
No, I mean, in theory, any tool that lets you build this longer execution of Taurus, other than, we saw an example where the dash report flag was added in at the end, and that made it do some extra stuff. So all we took was that concept and extrapolated it, and we're overriding a whole bunch of settings so that we can be more dynamic and not have to touch the YAML all the time, and do a lot of customizations through Jenkins itself or through parameters. So any harness.
Yeah, so to your question, the design of Taurus is to be CLI centric. So anything you can generate a CLI command line, whether that be a script you wrote from scratch, and who, rather than having to plug in particular technologies, we opted for a CLI interface because it's way faster, more flexible to just use wherever you need it. Right? So rather than asking you update your plugin that allow you to change certain parameters, that's crazy. Just try it again. Right?
And Taurus does a lot of other amazing stuff too. Like it will scan your JMX and see what version of JMeter you saved it with, and what versions of plugins, if any, and it grabs all of that for you. So it's almost dependency management. So we can have someone throw us a JMeter 2.8 test, and our Taurus will just download all that, run everything right. So it's pretty awesome.
You said scale up. Are we talking tens, hundreds, thousands?
So very much depends on the test plan. Oh, the question was, when I say scale up, what does that mean? What's the scale of scaling up? So our highest test so far, just to prove it out, we've slammed 100,000 virtual users through a lightweight system. But in that case, the script isn't too intense. So one of the things, I think it's a new feature for BlazeMeter, but BlazeMeter will dynamically figure out how many users it can put on a load gen. So you just throw it a total, and it will figure it out.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's on the roadmap.
We're doing it, but it's not public. Right. So the idea is instead of saying I want 15 hosts, we should be able to figure out how heavy your script is and scale it appropriately. There's a lot of moving parts in that approach to make sure that it's launched. Right. The first question was about scale, though, which was how big can you go? And notice that he's actually built. So he's using what's effectively a very similar approach to our private-based feature or our Docker-based system, private cloud. And we of course have our public cloud where we can scale it quite easily. So whether you want it inside your network or if it's outside, that's what it's on.
Is there a way to automatically generate the test data? Like, in case you're using random sites, is there a way to dynamically generate the test data with Taurus?
So she asked if there's a way to automatically, dynamically generate test data.
Yeah.
And you said that Taurus. So Taurus can run any command line you want to run before the test, right? So if you have something you call, like BlazeMeter now part of CA Technologies. CA Technologies has a very sophisticated test data management solution of its own. You can certainly call that. In fact, we have demo to do. Call that and say, I need test data. In fact, I need a huge chunk of it for the backend server, and I need a subset of it for my test scripts. Go generate that data and put it where it needs to be. And then only once it gets there, would you then run the next part we actually want to test. Test data management. So TDM is the acronym you'll hear used a lot. If you Google that, CATDM, it is a highly sophisticated, does all sorts of clever stuff about how do I build a larger data set, do I do it by cloning things, do I do it by extrapolating, you have chunks of test data you already have set somewhere, you just go get them. But if you want to generate them on the fly, sort of self-service approach, make sure that you're not using sensitive data, et cetera. Then there's commercial solutions, and we're lucky that's actually really strong in our
Yeah, I have that idea because it's not a check the property-based test library, but it's in just unit test, it auto-generate the test data for you.
So unit test product can generate its own test data.
You define the rule for like what kind of test data you want, and then it auto-generates the actual data. I was just wondering.
Yeah, so Taurus doesn't have something which would bring rules to the test data, but I don't know what sort of open source tools are in volume. Typically, the issue is doing it in a small volume. It's probably not too bad, right?
Yeah.
But doing, you want to build a large data store, that's where the commercial solution is. Right? I don't know, there may be something wrong with that.
So, that's why
So your question is how do you test UI when it comes to Taurus? So Taurus can run Selenium. We generally do that to run Selenium alongside of load to see what the front end is doing while the back end is being hit. It can be used for functional testing. We have people that do. Most of the people use it for functional testing, though, are using it to functionally test APIs, not GUIs, right? You can run a Selenium test, but I don't know that we do a lot in Taurus specifically designed to manage complex UI test cases. If you've got an existing Selenium test case, it's literally your YAML would consist of here's how many I want to run, and here's where the file is that has the existing test case in it that will run on the browser. So we covered. Thank you very, very much for that. By the way, that is the coolest. So one of the cool. That's one of the reasons why we built Taurus what we did and why BlazeMeter did what it is. And you just saw they built most of that themselves, right? So this is we got a problem. We got to solve a problem. How do we do that? Let's do this. Let's throw Redis in over here. So let's sort of cobble together. And I don't use cobble negatively. I mean literally, let's assemble these different pieces and do cool stuff. And as I think you heard Aaron saying, Taurus was super friendly when it came to that whole, I want to do it my way, and I want to call it this way, and I want to override that. And that's because it comes from that mindset of we live in this weird kind of straddling the commercial and the open source world. We come from the open source and the DevOps world. We've only existed since DevOps started, right? So we're integration friendly, we're tinker friendly. We like people to play with toys, and I think that's an awesome example. Just shows that rather than have to wait for product management to add a feature to meet some use case you have, they just pretty much went and built what they needed. So I promise there'd be a giveaway. I know we're into a little bit now. There's two things. One is there's bowling included here. We have actually purchased 3 lanes of bowling. So if anybody here likes to bowl, there are many more beers left, by the way. And we have a bowling alley from 7:30 to 8:30. So if you want to join us for bowling, you're welcome to, or if you just want to hang out and chat, that's cool too. The other thing is that we're giving away these growlers. Obviously, this can be used for beer, but you can put anything you want to keep hot or cold in there, right?
Union Square Donuts does cold brew and growlers. You can buy
you can refill your cold brew. That's in a cold brew to the whole family is a hysteria for days.
That's one day for me.
Yeah, well, we all have our different tolerances, right? So, in the spirit of using the tools, so could someone grab me the sheet? Becky, would you mind grabbing the sheet with the numbers on it and give me the total count? Bum, 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 bum. Let's see here. So here we have, so for those of you who don't know JMeter really well, this is JMeter, and I built a really simple little test plan here, and I'm going to ask it to generate random numbers between 1 and the 27 people who showed up, right? And we are going to give away, we're going to give away 8 growlers, okay? So good odds out there, right? 27 people, 8 growlers, right? So I'm going to clear this view results tree right here, and I'm going to run this guy, and we're going to see who gets a growler. So if we come over here, we can see that the first one is number 2, which is Purabi Mahapatro. Purabi, the second person to arrive. Awesome. Actually, if you would, Becky, if you go under the table where the pizzas are, it's actually the stash of the growlers. All right, drum roll, please. Our second winner is number 10, Don Nolan. Still here, Don? Yeah. Awesome. All right. And he can appreciate it. He'll put cold brew in that. All right. Third winner, number 23, Ben Eisenbron. Eisenbron. All right. Ben, you're in there. Be sure to ask for one. Aaron. Oh, that's funny. All right. Aaron Davidovits. All right. So one of our speakers, I was going to give him one anyway, to be honest with you, but he won fair and square. Number 6, Ravi Kumar Sampath. Awesome. You guys are winning great points for must be present to win, by the way. And Anant Bagi, number 1. Awesome. And number 15, Trevor Peterson. Also present to win. Awesome. And our final winner, actually, we're going to be able to give one more away. Let's do this one, too. So 27 is Steve. You came in last, right? Are you Steve? Steve Holzinger? You're not Steve. You didn't write your name down. Dude. Well, then, Steve Holzinger, are you here? Awesome. Steve's in the back. Geez, I thought you were the last one on the list because you were the last one in. You wrote your name down. Are you Greg? So where are you? Oh, yeah, you weren't the last one in. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Let's run it one more time. And see who's going to get added on to the end of the list here. Number 9, Ki Wang. There. She also gets points for probably lots of questions. Thank you very much. So awesome. So let's get you all one of these shiny new growlers. Promise me you'll wash it inside and out with soap before you use it. And then if you didn't get one of those little shutters for the camera on your laptop, be sure to grab one. And you're actually welcome to grab 2. I'd love for you to take one to a friend or family or a coworker. So we've got more of those. Be sure to take one. And with that, let's kill the Facebook Live and let's switch to bowling. And thank you all for coming. I know it's a busy night out here at Fenway Park. So thank you very much.